Stephen Cook, and former senior intelligence officer at the CIA, responsible for overseeing all of the agency's operations in Europe and Eurasia, also an MSNBC national security and intelligence analyst, Mark Polymeropoulos. Eli, I mean, I feel like I've seen it all, and then, another day comes and there's another news story, and I'm still surprised. How did this come to pass, this gift of a $400 million jumbo luxury jet from the royal family of Qatar?
Well, it's clear, Katie, from the president choosing to spend part of his first big foreign trip abroad by visiting Qatar that this is a country with pretty good connections to this administration. The president has visited with the Qataris even before taking office. There are people close to him and close to allies who work for the Qatari government. You mentioned the connection that Pam Bondi has. And so these people clearly understand the president. And the president, I think, my reporting is that he is kind of intrigued by Qatar. This is a very small country. Just a few million people live there. The capita income of any country in the world. And when that has been mentioned to Trump, that fact, he has said, these are the richest guys. These are the richest guys. There's a sort of understanding, a mutual understanding, I think, between the president who wants to do deals, not worry about the ethical qualms, and a government, several governments in the Middle East that he's visiting this week that will deal the way that Trump wants to deal, completely transactional relationships. And so this plane idea, obviously, it's a pretty, unorthodox proposal here, but they understand that this is for a long time, even going back to his first term, had that little replica of the new Air Force One with the different paint job that he preferred sitting on the coffee table in the Oval Office. They understand that the president is frustrated with Boeing about how long it's taking to build the new 747s that will replace the current Air Force One, and that this president has 4 years in office. He wants a new, nicer plane, and so the Qataris clearly have come up with a way to make that happen, although, as you and Courtney pointed out in your last hour, getting a Qatari plane retrofitted, and outfitted to be able to sort of pass the security tests and be used as Air Force One, that is something that will come at a huge cost and will still take some time.
Let me just go there for a second before we go to the ethics and what Qatar might get out of this. Let's go to the security issue here, because I know we're talking a lot about ethics, but for me, the first thing that I thought of was, how do you make it safe, both safe physically, but also safe in terms of intelligence? And we'll put up on the screen the unique Air Force One security measures, that, at least that we know of. I'm sure there are others. I know that there are others. It has approximately 238 miles of wiring, twice that of a typical 747, which is shielded to protect from the effects of a nuclear electromagnetic pulse. Electronic countermeasures, defense system located at the top of the plane that can jam enemy radars, flares from the wings to confuse heat-seeking missiles, has 87 telephones with 3 networks ranging from top secret down to non-secure. I mean, Mark, I know you'll tell me that that is just the very tip of the iceberg. How do you make sure a plane like this is safe enough for a president?
Well, Katie, you'd have to tear it apart piece by piece, panel by panel. I mean, this is almost inconceivable in the security world. The Air Force One and the continued maintenance of it is something which is one of the nation's most guarded secrets, because this is the president, the National Command Authority, who has to conduct business, who has to travel securely. There's all sorts of threats, from surface-to-air missiles to, of course, an aircraft that can withstand perhaps even a nuclear blast. As you said before, the communications packages. And, receiving a gift from a foreign government, the first thing is you have to check to see if there's any, for lack of a better term, bugs in there, if there are any kind of devices that were put in there for eavesdropping. And so it is extraordinarily difficult to do this. And, the only way you can kind of sense that President Trump would accept this is that he doesn't care. Now, we can go on a whole discussion about the Trump administration's security practices, which have certainly been in the news. But this is something that shouldn't even be on the table. I don't think the Qataris should have offered. They certainly saw this, President Trump, as an easy mark on this. But the people around, the FBI director, the Secret Service director, the DNI, the CIA director, surely have to say to President Trump, this is not something that's feasible. The only question is, have they put forward that advice?
Let's talk about deals. Because Donald Trump's going to the Middle East and he's focused on deals. What would the Qataris want out of an exchange like this? Would they just give him a $400 million jet, Stephen, for nothing in return?
Well, that's not the Qatari way, for nothing in return. I think it should be obvious to everyone that the Qataris, as well as a number of other states in the region, have used their vast wealth to buy influence in Washington, D.C. And this is just the most obvious and stomach-turning manifestation of that when it comes to the Qataris. The Qataris have invested in many different areas in Washington, D.C., from think tanks, media outlets. They have invested in president's advisors, as you pointed out. And what they are trying to do is to ensure that their voices are heard, that they are beyond criticism in Washington, because there is a lot of criticism of the Qataris and their role in supporting different extremist groups around the region, or allegations that they support different extremist groups around the region, and are playing both ends of the stick when it comes to the has taken up a lot of our times over the course of the last 19 months, and that's the war in the Gaza Strip. Not only are they mediators, but they're also they've started the fire as well. This is one way in which the Qataris try to blunt the kind of criticism that they get in Washington and help ensure their own security.